Chapter 9. Employee of the Month. If it's one thing that never fails to astound me, it's people's absolute naivety and ignorance of the most basic facts of life. Case in point today, this patently absurd idea that in the end, people will get what they deserve, be it good or ill. For no sooner have I walked into the club, do I hear the usual choir of idiot mug punters and their incessant chants of how much they've spent or lost and how such and such a machine is due to pay out at any moment. Yeah, sure it is, buddy. Now, if I've learned anything from working such a long time in this industry surrounded by so many losers, it's the following. Most of us don't get what we deserve. I know. I've read the always hilarious book of Job where a young guy has his life ripped apart and torn upside down just because the man upstairs has a bet going with the devil to see if he can get Job to curse his name. And in the end, Job makes the sensible comment that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. In other words, be happy and content with what you have because you never know when you might lose it all. Once again, this is a concept these old farts just don't seem to comprehend. What is gambling after all other than the gullible statement made to the fickle gods of chance that I want more than I have? I look around at these miserable old bastards and they're certainly not happy with their current lot in life. But ironically, the pursuit of more and more and more just makes them that much more depressed. And since fate is a bitch, as we have previously established, and since no one gets what they deserve, I find a particularly annoying mug punter dressed in this season's. I stopped giving a fuck what others think of my fashion sense collection as he sits at a machine cursing how bad his luck is. I decide then and there to let loose with a particularly potent, all but silent and, hopefully, deadly fart in his general direction. As I walk a few machines away to chat with a more pleasant-looking elderly lady, I notice him squirming a little in his seat, becoming uncomfortable, and yet he still stays there to feed his machine. Now that's dedication. As I walk around the banks of machines, I look up at the walls and notice something most odd on the TV displays. My face there and superimposed over the image are the words Employee of the Month. Not sure, though, if this confirms or debunks my theory about people getting what they deserve. Oh well. You're an hour late, an unfamiliar voice says as I approach the cashier's counter, and I look up to see a heavy-set, curly-haired man in a white shirt, black pants, bright green striped tie, and thick glasses looking right at me. This must be George's replacement for a while. Great way to make a first impression. I've just met the prick, and I'm pretty sure I hate him already. No, I reply as I consult the clock next to the cashier's area. Pretty sure I'm right on time since this is the time I always start the morning shift. Well, the guy says testily, that's been changed. Didn't you get the email yesterday? Email? I ask in disbelief. No, not really. And when I got home after working most of last night, the first thing I wanted to do was eat, then sleep, not check my bloody email. Not quite sure why I'm so grumpy at the moment. I've never been much of a morning person though, and this douchebag, whoever he is, just picked the absolute wrong moment to piss me off. There's no need for that kind of tone, he says aggressively. Gee, I say bluntly as I pull my phone out of my pants pocket. If only there was another kind of electronic device capable of transmitting messages quickly that you could have used to inform me of my changed hours this morning. Smart-ass prick, he says curtly, and then heads back to the supervisor's office. A shame, since I was just getting fired up and ready to escalate things. Employee of the Month indeed, I think to myself as I head over to the bar. Try Asshole of the Month. At least then I'd know what to say in my acceptance speech as I hold the shiny golden award up. Pretty sure it would go something like this. I'd like to thank all the mug punters I've farted on over the years, the ones I enjoy screwing with just because I can, and enjoy getting a rise out of people who are so quick to anger. Thanks for helping me become the asshole I am today. I'd like a coffee here, I hear the voice and look up to see the weathered and lined face of an elderly gentleman in an old-fashioned suit with medals over the breast pocket of the suit's jacket. Finally, a man of class and distinction, a veteran no less. And so I head over to the coffee machine and start getting things ready. What sort would you like? I ask helpfully. Oh, I don't know, he replies, his voice sounding far away as if deep in thought. Something with all the froth and not too strong, or it'll play havoc with my insides if you know what I mean. Of course, I reply, a cappuccino, coming right up. Yes, yes, the old man replies. Whatever the Dargo word is for a nice frothy coffee. I make it for him, and as I'm handing it to him, it occurs to me that there's something not quite right with this picture. But it's only after he's turned around and began walking in the direction of the gaming machines that I spot what it is. For some bizarre reason, the old guy is wearing his white brief-type underpants over his suit pants, and while it may be a good look on Superman, it's more than a little ridiculous on him. So I follow after him as he sets his coffee down by a machine and point out as diplomatically as possible his little fashion faux pas, and he just looks down and pulls the underwear down and over his legs and feet, then stuffs them in the breast pocket of his suit like an odd cravat. Yeah, I say. I guess that'll work. As I'm working behind the cashier's counter once more, I see Kate coming towards me across the gaming floor and so hand her a set of keys. Just a heads up, Kate says by way of greeting. I saw a minibus full of Asians pull up in the car park when I got here. You know what that means? Oh, wonderful, I reply bitterly. The syndicate's here. Now my morning's complete. If you want a picture of how a syndicate operates, imagine a hired thug from the mob shaking down small business owners. They come in when something's due to pay, and only then take a little money and they piss off again. And they're annoying assholes to deal with too, sitting at their machines making that pretentious wanky, signing in the air move with their hands when they get a cash ticket, or one of them inevitably wins the big jackpot. Elitist pricks. You're not in a fucking 5-star restaurant, I'd like to tell them. You're in a goddamn pokey club. Also, one other thing, Kate adds. I was walking past the machines and I'm sure I saw a guy with his jocks in the pocket of his suit. What the fuck right? I just shrug. The guy's a veteran. I respect that. So you don't hate everyone, Kate says, and grabs a ticket book, then heads off to the machines again. Since the new guy has barricaded himself in the office and is no doubt busy scratching his ass and pretending to do paperwork since there's no visible video camera in there though, would management hide a spy cam in there, who knows? Kate is doing her rounds on the floor and the bar is empty at the moment I have time to watch over my little fiefdom, the gaming area. I watch as the group of Asians walk inside towards the one bank of machines. I feel a surge of contempt for them since I know what comes next. At first, there's a certain amount of squabbling and bickering in what language I can only guess at, and then I spot the source of their frustration. My new veteran friend is sitting at the machine on the end of the bank they want to play. It's not long before Kate comes up to me. Those syndicate bastards are making a fuss over the old guy and saying they want that machine too. Okay, I say. You cashier for a moment. I'll deal with this. I head out to the old guy's machine and he smiles as he sees me approach, then looks over at the dozen or so Asians around him and grimaces. How's your morning going? I ask him, and he pulls the underwear out of his suit pocket, wipes his brow with it, then stuffs it back in. Oh, can't complain, he says gruffly. Haven't seen this many slanty-eyed bastards since Korea, you know what? And he lowers his voice a little. I get the distinct impression these bastards don't want me here. Well, stiff shit. I didn't give up my position when they had me surrounded at the Battle of Yongju, and I'm not fucking giving it up now. To my left, the group of Asians are still arguing in whichever language I don't know, and so I just pat the old guy on the back. I'm glad to hear that, I tell him. If they continue giving you any more problems, I add loudly so they can hear, you just let me know. But despite this, none of them say anything to me, so I just address them all. This man was here first playing the machine. I gesture towards him and nod, smiling as I do so. You're free to play the other machines at this bank, but not this one, understand? One of them nods and replies something more calmly, as if he understands. But since none of it's in English, I have no idea what he's talking about, and none of his friends offers a translation, leaving me to believe none of them can speak English. So, that's all resolved and everyone's happy then, I conclude, looking around. If you have any problems, I'll be glad to get my supervisor because, to be honest, I just can't stand the sight of you syndicate bastards. If you don't like it, I add with a nod, a smile and a grin, then you can just piss right off and find yourselves another venue. All of them are looking at me and nodding and smiling. One even gives me the thumbs up. Bunch of fucking idiots. The old guy concurs beside me. That's telling him. I walk off with a genuine smile on my face, knowing that I've resolved the problem my way. And if anyone should consult the video footage, they'll only see me talking to the old guy, addressing the syndicate pricks with a smile and speaking with them too. It's probably a good thing that video cameras can't read lips. Back at the cashier's counter, I watch across the floor as the Asians stuff 50s in the machine so that the jackpot shoots up and goes off. They only come in when the jackpot on a certain bank of machines is about to go off. They collect it, then move on to another venue to do the same thing. There's much excited chatter in their language, and they're pointing animatedly to the tops of their machines where the jackpot information is displayed. Shortly thereafter, as I'm distracted while making a coffee for one of the old gym ladies, I hear the jackpot sound go off loudly, and I head back to my cashier's station. I read the slip of paper that comes out of the electronic device and look up, unable to believe my eyes. Sure enough, it's the old veterans machine that has won the jackpot, and now the swearing and cursing begins. Maybe I was wrong. Seems like they can speak some English. Suffice it to say, I've never had quite this much fun filling out paperwork before. I knock on the supervisor's desk and alert him to the fact that we have a check on our hands, and he is looking down at a sheet of paper. Yes, that'll be fine, he says. Also, I'll need you to take your break in about a half an hour. Jasmine is coming in at 4, Luke at 6, and I want us all to get our breaks out of the way as early as possible. Right, I say. There wouldn't be a problem with that. It's just that the YMCA ladies will come down about that time for their cheap coffees, and Kate will be out on the floor, so you can't really... But the guy is unflinching in this. You'll take your break then, he says firmly, closing the discussion. I'm seething at the moment, but it's nothing compared to the anger and frustration of the syndicate assholes as I watch Kate hand the old veteran a check for almost $5,000 after the dozen of them have wasted hundreds of dollars to try and rig the jackpot. Kate writes small cash tickets for a few of them, but once they divide it up, it's still a loss compared to what they put in. Serves those bastards right too for trying to cheat the system. Time passes by, and before I know it, I'm sitting in the staff room enjoying a ham, cheese and tomato sandwich, an iced coffee and some grapes when the new guy bursts in looking red in the face and flustered. You've got to get back to gaming, he huffs angrily, as if this is my fault. Thought I was supposed to be taking my break now, I reply disinterestedly as I look at a magazine on the table before me and pop another grape in my mouth. I know being Employee of the Month should mean I'm supposed to try and get along with everyone, pull my weight and all that nonsense, but fuck that in this guy's case. He's a temp after all, probably just wanting to pad his resume with another employer for a short time and try and score another reference with a positive experience here. Since I really don't care much for the guy, I obviously can't let that happen. In fact, if I remember correctly, you were pretty adamant that I take it now, I say. So I'm taking it now, aren't I? And by the way, did you leave Kate on her own to deal with all the coffees as well as cashiering and the customers on the floor? That wasn't very responsible of you. Yes, well, I had to come here to... He begins uncertainly, and I hold up my mobile phone and jiggle it in my hand as I do so. Oh yes, he says angrily now. Very clever. Who do you think you are, smart-ass? But thankfully for me this time, management has provided me with the perfect response and I don't even have to say a word. I just look up at the wall and gesture to where my face is showing, smiling with the words Employee of the Month imposed over the top. It's not a bad shot, but if they really wanted to capture me being me, they could have taken a shot of a disgusted mug punter's face just after I'd farted on them, or me beating my head against the bar while Julius bores me senseless with talk of his 200 types of fucking cold fusion that he supposedly invented. That, or my ear-to-ear grin as I pour coffee through the same filter for the third time. Yes, well, we should get going, he says, wanting this to be over. And since it's rare for me to be in a position of having won over one of my higher-ups, I decide I don't want it to end just yet. I'm on my break, remember, I add coolly. You know, as per your instructions. But we need to... He starts feebly and then gets directly to the point. What's it going to take? I gesture to the TV display once more. Kate gets Employee of the Month next month. That's what. I can't do that, the guy says. Well, the longer we stand here arguing about it, I explain, the less she's going to like you, so you'd better give her something, and I get to my feet. Back down in gaming, Kate is sure enough being assaulted by coffee orders, and so I rush over to the machine to give her a hand. I'm sorry, I say. I tried to tell the new guy, but... Yeah, Kate replies, looking agitated. I know. He's an asshole. So we go through the motions, the assembly line of churning out coffees for these cheapskate bitches just because they have a coupon. Somewhere, a manager is patting himself on the back because we have all these people in drinking cheap coffee and maybe a few of them will throw a few bucks in the machines, but it hardly seems worth the work and the frustration to me at the moment. As we're doing shots and heating up milk and throwing out the coffees to them, I notice once or twice Kate's hands are shaking. Something's not right. Something else is going on, isn't it, Kate? I ask in a low voice so that the new guy and the customers won't hear. That fucking drunk guy grabbed my ass as I walked by him, Kate tells me. It's one thing I have to take shit from all these whiny old bitches, but this... Was it the tradie guy? I ask. Overalls and always drinking beer. And Kate nods. I'm about to ask her if she told the new supervisor about it, but then, given the level of competence he's shown so far, he'd probably take the guy out for a sexual harassment seminar at a strip club. Just don't, Kate says as she puts a hand over my wrist while I stare coldly over at the direction of the machines as I hear the guy carrying on loudly. Please, Kate asks, only make it worse. Fine, I say. Just forget it, Kate says, and hands over a few coffees to the old women. After the coffee rush is over, I suggest to Kate that I take the floor and she cashier for the rest of the shift. She readily agrees, and since the new guy's in no position right now to ask questions given his screw-up so far this morning, I just explain it that Kate wanted more practice in cashiering. As I walk around the gaming floor in between the banks of machines, now I find myself taken hold of by a strange and unfamiliar urge, and by that, I mean the wish to do something bad to one of the customers purely for revenge. But at least this time it's revenge for someone who deserves it. Kate seems like a nice enough girl. And as I pass by the drunk tradie, I just want to lay into him with fists and feet, security cameras here or not. But I hold my temper back instead, and as I pick up his empty beer glass, I decide to talk to him. Get you another beer? I ask him. A Crown, perhaps, you know, if it's good enough for the royals and all that. What do I look like, one of them monarchists? He says, slurring his words a little. Fuck those toffee English twats. Just get me a VB or something, would you? I'm heading over to the bar, and just then, Julius almost runs into me. He looks even more pretentious than usual, and that's saying something as he wears a tweed jacket, a vest, silk shirt with matching tie, a cravat, and has started growing a mustache. As he approaches the bar, he is taking off a pair of what look expensive riding gloves and holds them in one hand. But Julius still has a pretty huge bruise under his eye. A shiner, I believe, is the term, and I find it tough to look at him without laughing and to keep a straight face. Hello there, Mike, Julius says pleasantly as he sees me, and a thought begins to brew somewhere, so I go with it, affecting a frustrated look as I arrive at the bar opposite him. I say, Mike, Julius says then, you're looking a bit down in the dumps. What seems to be the matter? Oh, you know, I reply airily. It's just, the customers get to me sometimes. This one guy in particular, all he does is drink and slag off people. Should have heard him going on about the royals. Not a fan, this one. Is that so? Julius says and nods thoughtfully. Oh, I say, and put my hand over my mouth. Now I've done it. Me and my big mouth, eh? Don't know when to keep quiet. That's always been my problem. But Julius just shakes his head. Think nothing of it, Mike. A pause, and then, is this somebody I might know? I do talk to most of the regulars around here. Do my bit to be a good ambassador and all of that. I hesitate. Well, actually, I believe you may have had an altercation with this gentleman already, Julius. Oh, Julius says, and raises his eyebrows. So it's him, eh? Yes, I say, and nod my head gravely. Really was a cheap shot by him, hardly what I call a fair fight at all. But then that's the problem with guys these days. No sense of chivalry, no notions of honour or fairness in combat, like how gentlemen resolved their differences back in the day, if you know what I mean. Julius hesitates. Not exactly. But please do explain. Sounds fascinating. Sure, I say, and think about it for a moment. What was that movie I was watching last night? Oh, well, the name doesn't matter. The point is one guy offended another guy, and so the guy comes up to him and declares his intentions in front of everyone. Says he wants a duel. No, that he demands a duel. Pistols at dawn or swords. Something like that. Now that's the way gentlemen used to resolve their differences. These bar fights are simply for uncouth yobbos who have no class. Yes, Julius says, and purses his lips together as he strokes his developing mustache. I think I see your... Hey! A voice rings out as the drunk tradie approaches the bar. Who do you have to fuck to get a beer around here? For a moment, Kate looks up from her paperwork and then goes back to what she was doing, but I can tell she's watching the scene as it unfolds before us both. I think we've all had just about enough of you, Julius says, somewhat under his breath, and then turns to face him. Something to say then? The drunk guy slurs. And what is with that bloody get-up of yours anyway? Trying to look all posh and shit like those fucking royals or something, eh? That's none of your business, Julius says defensively, pointing a finger at him. And I'll thank you very much not to go bad-mouthing my future in-laws, if you please. The drunk guy just looks at me for a moment or so, as if to say, Is this guy for real? And then begins laughing. It's not funny, Julius says. I'm very serious about this, and it's not a laughing matter. I look at the clock just then, and remembering the day, a thought occurs to me. Sure, it's about 5 minutes away or so, but still, maybe, just maybe. But the drunk guy just pushes him. You don't tell me what I can and can't say, fucknuts. If I think the royals are a bunch of upper-class fucking wankers, then I'll bloody well say so and... But Julius cuts him off then, as he slaps him with the gloves he has in his hand, and I just watch in astonishment. In case you're too ignorant to know what that gesture means, sir, Julius says in his usual pretentious tone, it means I demand satisfaction. For a time, the drunk guy is stuck between confusion and anger. After all, it's not every day that a guy slaps you at a bar with a pair of riding gloves. But it doesn't take long for him to respond as he grabs Julius by the lapels of his jacket and pulls him down to him as he drives his head forward and headbutts Julius right in the nose. Once again, Julius goes down clutching his face, though this time it's not some piss-weak supervisor like George the tradie has to deal with. What the fuck do you think you're doing? I hear a voice directed at him as the Armor Guard security guys arrive just on time to collect cash from the office. In fact, they're about 5 minutes early. Got to love people who are punctual at just the right time. And it's not just the guns at their belt that are intimidating. They have this rough and ready look about them. Ex-cops maybe, something like that. Whatever it is, I sure as hell wouldn't want to be in this guy's shoes right now. At just that moment, as the drunk guy tries to make a break for it, and the guards point to their guns to indicate that this isn't really a smart idea, the new guy opens the door to the office and walks right into a hornet's nest. Right, he says then, looking at the clock. Almost time for... you're here early? That's good to... Wait a minute, what's going on here? He asks, confused. "What's going on?" the same guard says. "Is one of your patrons was just assaulted by this prick here. I saw it happen right in front of me. We're going to have to call an ambulance as well as the police." He then jabs the drunk guy right in the chest. "You're going down for this, Sonny. Do you understand? You're fucked." The new guy is looking from the guards and then looks down and sees Julius at the other side of the bar, unconscious and stiff as a board. "Right, you two," he says to me and Kate. "I'm going to have to handle things here. I want you to take this poor unconscious guy and see what you can do for him while I call the ambulance." Really didn't need this today," he adds, more under his breath than anything. Of course not, I'm thinking, as Kate and I take Julius by the arms and legs and carry him away to the restaurant side, which is currently empty. So terribly inconvenient for you when somebody gets knocked the fuck out on your watch. It's moments like this that I'm really glad I'm not a supervisor, so I don't have to write up those tedious incident reports anytime something like this happens. Patron was arguing with another customer at the bar when the situation escalated and said customer was struck with a vicious headbutt and knocked unconscious. Action taken. Police were phoned and shortly thereafter arrived on the scene. Action taken if the armor guard guys hadn't turned up when they did. Patron was denied the serving of alcohol for a period of no less than 2 weeks. Kate has a first aid kit and, as the new guy suggested, is doing what she can for Julius to patch him up. Suffice it to say, he's looked better than he does at the moment. "I know what you did," Kate says, taking me by surprise. "I mean, I'm not stupid, you know. I could tell you were egging him on, Julius, that is. And then this other asshole comes up and acts like himself?" I add helpfully. I'm looking at the ground before my feet then. For some reason, I can't bring myself to look at Kate just now. "Honestly," I say, "I don't know why I did it. Sometimes things happen and you just reach a breaking point and you want it all to go away. I wanted rid of that bloody guy and management sure as shit weren't going to do anything about it. You know what they're like." I hear Julius groaning. He seems so out of it, not even remotely conscious. What in the world happened?" "A bus hit you, Julius," I say helpfully. "It was the darndest thing. Just came out of nowhere, didn't it, Kate? But not to worry. I'm sure with a bit of medical attention and maybe a nose job and some plastic surgery, quite a bit of plastic surgery most likely, you'll be back to your old self in no time." Julius groans and then faints once more. I look at Kate then, and finally the words come to me. "Sure, maybe it wasn't the right thing what I did, but I think for once, just maybe I did it for the right reasons. After you told me what that asshole did to you, I thought to myself I can't let this slide." You did this for me?" Kate asks, confused, and I just nod. "Thanks, Mike," Kate says, and kisses me on the cheek, and I'm still wondering about my earlier point. Do we all get what we deserve? And I realize it just doesn't matter. Sometimes to get the thing you want, you just have to kind of make your own luck